Krista, I'm
Yeah.
Carmi. It's nice to formally
Yes.
meet you.
Hello, hello.
And we've met. Krista, I don't know if you remember, but we met at Andrew's conference, but that was a long time ago now.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like it's everything is a blur, but it's nice to meet you again.
Yes,
Oh, so you
likewise.
guys didn't catch up at RCS then?
No, Krista wasn't there. You were.
Oh,
It was
okay.
Kate that was there. Yeah, Kate
Oh,
and I
okay, okay,
did.
okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes. So,
Okay.
but I am.
We got two Ks this book this weekend, so
All right.
I had to get all my ducks in a row and make sure I didn't botch this and biff it.
It's all right. You
I'm
won't hurt my feelings.
actually, I'm actually in your neck of the woods, Krista.
Oh,
I'm
where
in
are you?
BC right now, Lower Mainland. So.
Okay. Oh,
I'm here in Surrey because that's where my parents are at.
Oh, I'm
But
okay.
outnumbered again, huh? Two
yeah,
Canadians.
us
Oh, Dal likes to do
Canadians.
that to me. She likes to point out how Canadians are superior over Americans.
I
I
mean,
mean,
And I mean, I have no rebuttal to that. I'm just like, well, in the state of which everything's at right now, let me just zip it, throw away the key, and be quiet.
yeah.
yeah, yes. Wow. Well, thank you for joining us. We really, really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So let's get
Want me to
into it.
take it?
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
cool. All right, you
Yeah.
guys. Well, welcome back to another episode of Breaking the Cycle, Redefining Weight Loss, Health, and Mom Life. And today we have the GOAT of the industry, if you guys
Of
didn't
course.
know. Had to throw that in there. Sorry. We have Krista Scott-Dixon, PhD, coach for over 30 years, and also the mastermind behind a lot of the precision nutrition curriculum. So thank you for being here. We're excited to have you. We're excited to see your perspective and all your wealth of knowledge that you have to offer this industry. Let's go ahead and start you off with a little intro about you. How did you get into this space? Maybe some of your backstory. And I'll just let you take it from there.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess my brand, if you call it that, is that I was never an athlete. I was the kid, always picked last for gym class.
Oh,
And so I grew up like having this very, I don't know, fearful, complicated relationship with physical activity. Although I will say it was the 70s and 80s. So like we biked everywhere, walked everywhere, played in ravines and other dangerous places, with no knowledge of our parents.
yeah.
So like I grew up as a 70s, 80s kid. So like, actually experiencing my body, but I was never involved in sports. I was the kid picked last for gym class. And that was kind of like an identity that I had. And then when I was in university, actually in high school, in grade 9, it was like 85 or 86, I heard about female bodybuilders and I was like,
Cool.
oh, that sounds so cool. And I was taking an aerobics class at the time, of course, because that was what we could do as girls.
Right.
But one day they let us in the weight room and I was like, this is awesome. This is so cool. And I heard people talking about female bodybuilders and I was like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. So, that was kind of like my start. And the thing I liked about bodybuilding and weightlifting is that it was something that I could do while still being bad at sports. Like it didn't involve catching a
Mhm.
ball or anything like that. So when I was in university and of course living the university student lifestyle, drinking
Uh,
beer and eating chicken wings, I gained a lot of weight.
yeah.
And
Right.
I was like, all right, I need to do some exercise to not, to kind of address this. And again, like no sports. So I was like, okay, I can start with walking and I can start with weightlifting. And that was like the genesis of it because at the time, women were being told, do not ever lift anything heavier than they disagreed
Yes.
on the exact weight, but like it was very clear, like, no more than 4 pounds. And I was like, women carry around like 9-pound babies in their uterus. Like, I'm pretty sure that my muscles can handle more than that. But yeah, so because I was at the university and I had access to the university library, I started researching. And so like, we'll skip all the rest of the intervening
Uh-huh.
years, but basically it was like, I had questions, other people had questions. I started answering questions on the internet and basically
Right.
turned that into a career. So I was doing my academic career in parallel. I was teaching and doing research
Yeah.
after I finished my PhD, but also working as a personal trainer because it paid better than being a teaching assistant, being a
Of
research
course.
assistant.
Of
And
course.
so when I had this moment of like deciding I was going to quit academia, I remember it really clearly. I had this really shitty experience with a boss, and I came back to my office and I sat down and I took out a piece of paper and I did the math. How much money could I make being a personal trainer versus being like contract faculty per hour? And I was like, personal trainer wins. So I
Yeah,
quit.
I mean, the
yeah.
math didn't
Not
lie for
well,
you.
The
and
math did not lie.
not to mention how much it costs to go to university, right?
Yes, especially in your sanity,
Yeah.
and well-being. So yeah, so I mean, after my PhD, so I spent, about 5 years in academia after finishing my PhD, but then I was like, "I'm out, peace out." And, I started writing curriculum for precision
Yeah.
nutrition and coaching programs, and that was kind of how it all spiraled out, but I could bring in that expertise of teaching for, like, 10 years or so, doing research, all of that. So yeah, so here we are, and it's kind of turned into a career for me. So
That's
That's
amazing.
amazing.
yeah.
That's
I
so
know.
amazing.
I
But
mean,
one thing I
you
want to touch on really fast that like I don't think people get is that you had said that they finally let the women into the weight room. Like
Yes.
think about that.
yeah.
That's so crazy. And now it's like we are demanding women to take up space in the gyms, take up space in the weight room. So like the forward progression is amazing, but I just can't even believe that like people like you paved the way to start that for us
Uh-huh.
in a sense because it used to be like we weren't allowed in there. And that's
You literally
crazy
were not allowed.
pants.
Yeah, and I think this is so important to communicate to younger women now, and, like, okay, so I was a big advocate, obviously, for women's weightlifting, that was,
Yeah.
like, my first website, and so, like, obviously, I'm a huge advocate for it, although but then it's like I go into the weight room, and there's all these, like, young women who are just dominating it, and I'm like, "Damn, I can't get a squat rack anymore." Like,
Yes.
some
The catch
some
22 to
some
that.
some tiny 18-year-old is, like, bombing out God knows how much weight on
Love
the
it.
squats, like, "Damn, I think I created a monster here." But
You're like, I did too good at
I
promoting
did
this.
too good. I should have kept this secret to myself.
Yeah.
Um, but, like, it's so important for younger women to understand they literally did not allow us to do this stuff. I
That's
wasn't allowed to
Yeah.
wrestle, which I wanted to do. They didn't let us
oh,
play real hockey.
yeah.
Like, my dad did not let me do certain kinds of physical chores. I wanted to learn how to chop wood and to mow the lawn and that kind of stuff. He would not let me. I had to get boyfriends to teach me. So it's really important to kind of, I think, understand and value where we've gotten to. Like, we were warned, do not pick up a heavy weight. It will
I
hurt
know.
you. Like, it was just wild
As if we
stuff.
were like
So
frail and fragile.
ridiculous, as if women hadn't been doing farming and fishing and God knows what for thousands of
And
years.
carrying everything, their kids, the
Right.
food,
Stuff on their heads,
the
stuff on their
physical.
backs.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. It's nuts. It's just, oh, all of it. And so even for you, that experience, going through that progression over the decades, like that's just incredible. And you mentioned that you were overweight. How overweight were you, and what was that like for you, and how or did it kind of shape just your career and how you see things and your perspective now?
Yeah, it's a good question because so the way I'll say it is like I've lived in every body. So I've lived
Yes.
in an ultra lean body, in an athletic body like that was competing, and I've lived in an obese body. I've lived
Hmm.
in a body that was, 50 pounds overweight, 50, 60 pounds overweight. I stopped measuring honestly at 5 feet
Yeah.
tall, which kind of makes you sort of round, right? And
Yeah.
so I've lived in a
Not a
round,
lot
like everything.
for places to go.
Yeah, so, like, I've lived in all of the bodies. I've lived in a body with a lot of physical capability. I've lived in a body with significantly limited physical
Hmm.
capability. So I've kind of, like, I've tried out all the bodies.
Yeah, the bodysuits. I call them bodysuits.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so I think that this gives me a lot of empathy
Yeah.
for what everybody is experiencing. Not everybody, but like I mean, what a wide range of bodies are experiencing, and there's pluses and minuses to being in every body. And so, like for example, when you're ultra lean. I was getting stress fractures. I lost my period. I
Yeah.
effectively put myself into early menopause for a while there. So bad stuff happened in the ultra lean body. Um, Bad stuff happened in the high body fat body, right? My knees, my
Yeah.
hips, like back pain, like all of that stuff. So everybody has pluses and minuses, and there are some containers that I really don't particularly care for
Yeah.
in retrospect. But I think it gives me a lot of empathy for
Yeah.
how a lot of people are walking through the world, experiencing their body in a very tangible way, like what it actually feels like to be in those
Hmm.
bodies.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I have
I
to
think that's
agree.
helpful.
Yeah, I've been there too, and that's why I kind of refer to it as like just wearing different bodysuits.
Hmm.
For over 2 decades myself, I've been 130 pounds heavier, and I've been, at my leanest self as well. And the joint pain, like I totally relate to that. And I'm not sure. I agree with you as well. Like that's where so much of my empathy comes from. And you know, I mean, I do want to touch on this later, like when we get into the coaching part of it. But if we can shift back to just women, culture, understanding different, just environments, right? Like the environments we live in, geography, all of that, and how that plays a role. So for Carmi and I, we're both obviously ethnic minority women, and we have found, and I found, and my clients as well, that there's this gap missing that maybe necessarily people don't understand what it's like to grow up in different cultures and how that affects our lives, weight gain, weight loss, all of that. Like you mentioned, getting stronger for you, it was more of, you know, back then, men, women, the difference. But for us, it was a cultural thing where it's like, we don't do that stuff. We're girls. We're not allowed to
But
do
not
those
even
kind of
just that,
things.
just the nutrition alone. You and I both
Nutrition.
have
Yep.
had people in our DMs saying, I didn't know that I could still eat my favorite cultural food work for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So, maybe we can maybe you could touch on
Okay.
that a little bit in your perspective.
Well, I mean, the first reframe I would put on that is not ethnic minority, is global
Yeah.
majority,
Globe
right?
global majority. Yes, you're
So
right.
being
Yes,
part of the
yes,
global majority,
yes.
unfortunately, the way that nutrition has developed as an industry, has been very much focused on like white middle class North
Yeah.
Americans. And, you know, I remember even being rather irritated when I was at Precision Nutrition and we would give people like suggested menus and meals. And it was like, here's
Mm.
some, I don't know, like, I don't even know who eats this, but like 5 ounces of turkey breast and brown rice and steamed broccoli. And I was like, literally, what freaking culture in the world would be proud to consume this as a meal? Like, people don't
Yeah.
eat this way, like around the world, right? And obviously,
Uh-huh.
there's
Uh-huh.
all kinds of different ways to eat. I mean, humans are really great at making
Yeah.
food into this like wonderful circus of variety. But all of that being said, I think that nutrition has been very much manufactured um, as an implicitly white, middle class, North American kind of template. So
Yeah.
even the foods that are considered good or bad, or the modes of preparation that are considered good or bad, like, you know, it's been a very, very narrow slice. And I sort of joke that I'm biracial, which is like mayonnaise white and pickle white. So,
Oh, I love that.
so
Oh,
so half my family is pickle white. So, you know,
Please explain that for
yeah, I
us.
know. I'm like, please digress on that a little bit more,
Okay.
please.
Okay. So mayonnaise white is like, you know, ancestry from British Isles, like
Right.
saltines, white bread,
Okay.
bologna. Like there's a little bit of a whiff of the working class, like farmer upbringing stuff. And then pickle whites are like Eastern Europeans, right? So there's like
Ah.
a little bit of smoked herring in there and a little bit of like
Gotcha.
stinky stuff
Right.
with
Yeah.
cabbage. So
Okay.
yeah. And then apparently the spicy whites are like Mediterranean, right? So there's
Ooh,
kind of
the
jokes
spicy
about
whites.
like
Yeah.
about who you are based on your kind of heritage cuisine. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But so I said there definitely has been like this cultural dominance of like what is considered good nutrition, and like but it is a very very narrow slice of the world, and
Mm.
honestly not I think the way that a lot of people even would enjoy living, right? Like
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
uh, so I think it's really, really, and I've also noticed that, like, you know, so I did a lot of time teaching. I worked through South Asia
Yeah.
and like taught nutrition to people there, and they had a lot of questions about like what is okay to eat, and there was almost like a lot of implicit shame about their own
Mhm.
culture and their own food. And I was like, whoa, 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 like this is your food, this is your heritage, this is your ancestry. Like there's probably stuff that we can make better or worse. Like you probably don't need it to
Right.
be swimming in oil. We can maybe
Yeah.
dial that
Yes.
back a little bit, but we don't have to go all the way to, you know, again, steamed turkey and broccoli.
Yeah,
Yeah, but if
yeah.
you even break down people's nutrition, like for Filipino foods, a lot of it is the same basis
Yeah.
of what we eat today. It's a
Mm,
protein
mm.
in
Yes.
mostly a stew paired with a starchy carb with a bunch of veggies. And so I think that people just need to stop overcomplicating it and understand it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
But like I've done things where I've done swaps, and I know Dal, you've done it too, where you don't use as much ghee or you use
Yep.
something different as an alternative, and vice versa with me, where there's one dish that's so decadent. It's called kare kare, and it's with
Yep.
peanut sauce and oxtail, where Yes, it sounds amazing as it is in its form, but maybe if you're in a certain phase, like that's not going to quite work. So you can doctor it up and you can do a little bit different, like pick a different kind of meat and just do it longer. So there's ways and swaps to do things and still keep it cultural to you and you can still enjoy it.
Yeah, I feel like we've just been so ingrained to believe,
The
just
bro diet.
generally speaking, yeah, the bro diet, and that's all that's been pushed down our throats for all of these years, all of the magazines. Because Carmi and I are both in our 40s as well, so we grew up in that era as well. And just working with clients, it's like, I can eat this food, I can eat Indian food. I'm like, yeah, you can. That's why I yo-yo. One of the reasons why I yo-yoed for many years as well is because I felt like I could not eat my cultural foods, the foods that I grew up on. And so I would do the broccoli, chicken, whatever, rice. And then once I was done and got to my goal weight, well, I would go back to eating the way that I was eating before. And so I hadn't learned the skills on how to prepare, or not even like to prepare the food and how I could eat my cultural food. Because that, for me, I say satisfaction is a strategy. So if you're actually satisfied with what you're eating, you're going to stick with it. So yeah, that's huge. So Carmi and I definitely find that with our clients, and we're hoping that we can spread the message a little bit more and say, hey, you can eat these things. So
Yeah,
yeah,
same, same. And
yeah,
food practices too. I think that
yeah,
one of the other problems of like North American nutritionism is that they've extracted the food from its environment, right? So it becomes all about
right.
nutrients and it completely divorces it from its context. And like one of the stories, like literally the first client we meet in my book is like a woman who, again, busy working woman, lives with her elderly dad. Like
Mm,
she's a caregiver, right? And she's kind of caught between these two worlds of like trying to manage
yes.
work and kids and her aging father and they like to enjoy these South Asian foods together because it's like their heritage and it's like their connection. So
Hmm.
she sits down with him and they have this moment every evening. And like they enjoy the food together, and that's such
Yeah,
an important thread too. Is like, how do we eat? Like in what
right,
context? What are the connections there? Do we eat with a big family? Do we eat on the run? Do we eat in our cars? Like, in what circumstances is this eating occurring? And in most contexts, food has this huge other dimension that is never
hmm,
or very rarely addressed in kind of classic nutrition stuff, or even stuff like you're indigenous and now it's like going to go
yes,
hunting and you're hunting with your brother and your uncle and like all of like there's a whole social piece to this, or you go
there is.
fishing, right?
Yeah,
So that's a big part of the mix too, and I think that's because we don't address it but it's still there. That's
right.
another thing that kind of trips clients up, because if we don't help them address it, then they're like kind of like blindsided by it.
Yeah, yeah, it's food is love. A lot of cultures.
Yeah.
It's the way our mom showed us love. I know that
Yeah.
for sure, and continue to. So we definitely have to look at all of these things. And yeah, I mean, again, going back to myself and my clients, I do work with quite a few South Asians, and they come to me and it's like, hey, I can resonate with you. Like, please show me how to include this because the experiences that, they've had with practitioners, with dietitians, with whomever, again, just going back to what you were talking about, all revolved around kind of just, I'll just say it, white food, right? Plain black white food. So, and so when we're talking about that, nutrition skills, let's talk about skills because I just, in your perspective, and obviously with PN, a lot of skills based approach too. How important is that? And there's two sides to this. There's the skills, and then there's also like emotional eating. I'll just say emotional eating, but that piece of it and why we eat. And so, can we have one without addressing the other, or is it sometimes only one and not the other? So yeah, if we could go into that, your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I don't think they're different. I think everything
Yeah,
is a skill.
yeah,
Like my fundamental belief is that everything is a skill. So there are skills of like logistics, like food prep. Can you cook a
yeah.
chicken? Can you go grocery shopping? Can you choose appropriate portions? Like there's those kinds of skills. But there are also emotional skills and
Mm,
there are interpersonal skills that are also part of the right? So it's like interpersonal skills are things like being able to advocate for yourself, being able to have a difficult conversation, being able to navigate those family dynamics. You're going to that big family reunion and you're like, oh my God, okay, my aunties are going to get on me about whatever, whatever. Right?
Yeah,
How do I
right? The
navigate
aunties. It's always the
that?
aunties.
Right?
It's always the
How do,
aunties. They're always the most
they're
vocal. They don't hesitate. They don't
terrifying,
hesitate to tell you if you're
terrifying.
too skinny, you're too
Yeah.
fat, or if you're
Yeah.
not eating enough or you're eating too much.
They have a lot of thoughts for sure. And so like, how do you navigate that, right? How do you have the
Yeah.
interpersonal skills and a lot of the time the emotional eating is very closely connected to interpersonal. So for example, I had so many clients over the years, women who were in relationships where they were unhappy, where they were
Yeah.
struggling, but they were sort of unable to like articulate effectively what they needed, what they wanted. And so they would just eat, right? Or like, I remember very clearly one client just saying, I get angry at my husband and then I just eat to punish him. I was like, oh, that's really interesting, right? So there are a lot of behaviors that emerge around eating that are just due to not having effective interpersonal skills. But then we have emotional regulation skills. Do you have the skill of awareness? Do you have the skill of
Yeah.
understanding what to do with what you feel? Or are you just acting? Are you just like, automatically reacting and flailing? So from my perspective, everything's a skill. And in client work, we kind of just sit down and go, okay, what's going well? What can we build on? And then where are you struggling? And most of the time, that's where you need either to build a skill or to strengthen a skill, or to have new skills that you never even thought of. Like you probably didn't even know this was a skill. A lot of the time, people just feel like I'm just a bad person. I'm just weak. I don't have willpower. So yeah, for me, everything is a skill no matter what domain it's in.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of it is. I mean, all of it is, really.
All of
It's
it
it's
is. I
we
mean,
always say
we've talked about
practice
that all the time.
prac
We've got to
yeah.
practice reps. Like it's going to be hard and difficult at the beginning, but with practice over time and some patience, you'll get there.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Everything is practice and reps. I mentor with Jeb. You know Jeb, right, Krista? Do you know Jeb? Yeah, you do.
Which job?
Stuart Johnston.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Of
Yeah, yeah,
course.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, he's all about emotional eating and regulation and nervous system. And like, I found that, yeah, a lot of it's about learning to regulate yourself, your emotions. And I didn't realize it in my own personal journey. Like I was trying to do that with my kids. So I was trying to,
Mm.
it was something that was new to me, when they were younger. And as I was learning that, I was moving into, my own journey. And it wasn't until after I realized how important emotional regulation was within
Mhm.
it all. So yeah, so emotional eating, that's a big thing. Like in this space, I see a lot of uh, calorie counting, structure, tracking, and that's where some coaches start. That's where they end. And then there's that other piece. So thoughts on that? Like, I mean, of course, we're going to get to that eventually. But Carmi and I both find now that we're actually focusing a lot more on the behavioral side of things and the emotional regulation side of things. And once we can, once our clients start to see that and start to practice that, that they're able to more easily navigate into actually doing the structured part of it, like the counting or the tracking. So your thoughts on that? Like, does someone need to track? Should they be tracking right
I
off the bat?
think, yeah, I think someone needs to build awareness. Now, what that looks like can vary a lot from person to person. And my approach is always like, what's the laziest, lowest friction
Yeah.
way that we can do this? And I was actually just working with a guy. Now, we were working on time tracking. And it was part of like a health coaching thing, but we needed to sort of track time first because we needed to know like how can we leverage like workout times and food prep times and stuff. So he said he was like, well, I'm really busy. So it's like, okay, let's break that down, right? But he found he figured it out with Claude. He would just open his phone and tell Claude what he was doing or what he had been doing. And then Claude would assemble this time journal for him. That is a great example of how to build awareness in like the lowest friction way. Everyone has their phone in their hand all their time, right? So
Yeah.
if you can just
Yeah.
open your phone, say what you're doing, that's great. Or of course, a lot of apps have photo recognition. So like one
Yeah.
of my day jobs is working with an app, and they have photo recognition. So you just snap a photo of what you're eating and then it'll try to break it down for you. So we do want to build client awareness. We want to use the method that gives us the information that we need without overwhelming in details. So I'm a big
Mhm.
believer that most of the time, most clients do not need or want or benefit from details. Now, of course, you're
Mm.
going to get that super like engineer, tech-minded client that loves to analyze and stuff like that. But a lot of the time, that's even so that's a barrier to taking action because the goal is to take effective action, right? So we
Right.
are building your awareness in order to help you take effective action. So that can look lots of different ways to different people. It can be something as simple as, listen, when you eat, I want you to eat slowly. And all I want you to do is just like
Yeah.
check or no check. Did I eat more or less, mostly slowly at this meal, or did I not? For other people, it can be, hey, snap a picture of your food. Are there fruits and vegetables in there? If so, thumbs up. Is there a protein source in there? If so, thumbs up, right? And we'll see how many thumbs up
Yeah.
you get through the week. So by and large, most clients do not need to be tracking at a significant level of depth. Now, sometimes it can be helpful to say, look, at just for a few days, let's try
Right.
um, being a little bit more granular. Maybe we even bust out the measuring spoons or the food scale just for a few days so that you start to see maybe there's a difference between your perception of your intake and the reality of your intake. But
Yeah.
I'm very, very clear, like this is just a little experiment. It's just a little calibration.
Right.
So that's my take on tracking. It's like track what is the minimum viable amount that you need to get the information that you're seeking. And also like think strategically, what actually is the information that you need? If
Right.
you don't need to collect the data, don't collect it, right? So for example, if I have an athlete that's training really hard, yes, absolutely. I'm going to want to know, are you eating enough calories? Are you eating enough carbs? Are you hydrating enough? Like, of course, that's super important. But for just a regular human being, like we know people's average level of health habits, it's like, I would just be thrilled if you ate a vegetable today and drank a
One,
glass of water.
yeah.
Like
But
literally
I
just
think you brought
one.
up a really good an important point is that we as coaches have to understand the avatar because I
Mhm.
think that
Yes.
there's coaches here who are drilling in like it has to be this, it has to
Yeah.
be tracking, it has to be
Yes.
macros, but also understand the client and the avatar. If you've got
Yes.
somebody who's 150 plus pounds overweight, if we can just kind of rein in their habits a little bit and bring that what you said awareness around their food, their nutrition, their lifestyle, you'd be surprised at how far of a like a progression they'll get
Yeah.
by just I don't
Yes.
know eating out less one time a week or
Yeah.
you know having their plates be more protein versus all the other things, eating less processed food. So I think it's just coaches need to understand that one, the avatar that we're working with, two, also understand that a lot of these people are thinking they're going to get this body that the coach has, but it's going to take time. And we have to
Mhm.
manage and temper those expectations with our clients as well. And so it's
Yeah.
okay to
Yeah.
take the slow approach, but of course the slow approach doesn't sell. It doesn't always get the client's buy-in. And so they're always about like fast and hard, let's get this.
But I think that comes back to the coach as well, like their messaging and what these clients are resonating with. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Krista. I know that
But
you're
yeah,
going to say
what
something.
I was going to say is, I mean, you get to decide what kind of coach you want to be, right? And I think
Yeah.
Yes.
it's easy to feel like, God, I have to sell some bullshit to hook people. But I think we try to play the long game. And the reality is, there's a lot of frustrated, discouraged. I call them diet refugees, right?
Oh,
People who've tried
love
all the
it.
diets, right?
Yeah.
And they're
But
just
that
like
was
wandering
us.
in the wilderness, right? And those are a much bigger population. So you can kind of go out and you collect them and say, listen, have you tried 100 diets and they all sucked and, whatever? Great. You're probably ready for something different. That is a very appealing approach. Even if in the beginning, you might have a bit of that conversation, like someone has a little bit of anxiety, like, I feel like I need to do this. An effective coach with good coaching strategies can have that conversation and like honor the desire. Like, I know it feels so bad right now to be in the body you have or to living like the
Mhm.
life that you have. I know it feels so bad and it feels really urgent for you to change this. At the same time, you've been down that road, you know what it involves. I think we can do something better together with me supporting you. And like one of the things a coach can say is like, what you didn't have before was me. And now
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm in your corner. I'm on the
Mhm.
path with you. That is going to make an enormous difference. If we stick together here, this is going to be a game changer for you. I think that's very
Yeah.
reassuring for clients to hear, especially if you
Yeah.
can deliver that with confidence.
Yeah.
So that was like the perfect infomercial before there. You just
It
said it so
was.
eloquently. You're like,
Hashtag
get
work
out
with
there
me.
and gather them up. Okay, so just to expand on that, I'm curious. Compassion, empathy, and that intersecting with like tough love. for Carmi and I, tough love, I'm just going to put it in quotes, what we're used to hearing and what it delineates. But, to find that balance in the middle, I think that there's two extremes that we see in the space. There's like too much compassion and empathy. And then there's that other side. Well, like, this is how it's done. You have to do it like this. And you're not doing it. Like, the blame is placed on the client. So yeah, so where do we, as coaches, not like you've already said, like, we get to decide what type of coach we want to be. But yeah, if you, your thoughts on those.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
each client is going to be different.
Yeah.
In how much structure they want and how much challenge they want and what their goals are and what they're doing to meet them. So there's really no one size fits all, but I think we can see some general principles. And number one is that a client, there has to be a certain level of safety and support and security in the relationship for this person to allow themselves to be challenged by you. So if you want to deliver the tough love or whatever, like I actually when I teach coaches, I have this graph, which is like one axis is challenge and one axis is support. And as challenge goes up, support has to go up too. So you can't just be like screaming in people's faces without also having done the emotional labor of creating that environment where it's clear, I'm here in your corner, I'm here to support you, I've got you, we're together all along the way. You can trust me. Because if you're just, like, here's the truth, like, that's not an effective approach.
Yeah.
I do think it's important to be truthful with clients. And I think this is, like, a lot of people call it tough love. I don't like that term because it evokes for me like the 1980s, like, scaring kids into submission kind of stuff by sending them off to prison, like
with a drill sergeant.
the drill sergeant. Yeah, like when people are in a state of fear or panic or overwhelmed, they can't learn, they can't grow, they can't do better. And so I think we over valorize the tough coach, the scream in your face coach, but what's happening at the client end? They're just panicking. They're just regressing into like a turtle shell of panic. And that is not a space of learning or growth. Yeah, fear, right? And when we're under stress, we regress. So if you want to make your clients worse, go ahead and use that approach. And we know from data too, that when you take that really hard ass approach, you have way more client churn, worse client retention, your clients get worse outcomes. So it's just not that effective business-wise or coaching-wise. Now, I do think it's important to be honest with our clients and to talk about cause and effect, like grown-ups, right? You did this and you got this outcome. Now, what reality shows us is this, this, and this. And so a good example of that, of course, is energy balance. Calories in, calories out. And people will say, oh, energy balance is not a thing. It's like physics is a thing, right? Physics
Science is a thing. Math is a thing.
Math is a thing. And it may seem confusing because we don't know all the inputs and outputs. So it may be a little bit baffling because we're not sure what is happening in the black box in between, right? Maybe we're missing some knowledge about inputs. Most of the time that's the case, right? We're incorrectly measuring the inputs. But there could also be something whack going on with the outputs. Maybe you have some malabsorption syndrome that you're not actually digesting stuff. Or there's some interesting research on people who are like raw food vegan having hormonal issues because all of the roughage and stuff, they're actually not absorbing enough energy from their diets. So there's stuff happening in the middle that we may not be clear on, but we can, help clients see. This is the awareness piece as well. Okay, you did this and you got this outcome. And that can be in terms of what you did, but also how consistent it was. So like you have been on the couch for 2 weeks and then you went out and played 3 hours of tennis. Oh, you hurt yourself. Like that's what happens,
go
right?
Figure.
Yeah. So I think that we can be honest in a way that is kind, but also not overly protective of people, like not pretending that there's some magical explanation. To just be like, lay it out and say, look, here are the rules of reality. I didn't make them up. Here's the situation. Now, as two grown-ups, let's sit down together as a team and collaborate on what you want to do about this. You may want to do nothing, and that's completely fine. You may, we at Precision Nutrition, we had this
decision at least.
They made this decision. We had this great infographic about the cost of getting lean. And when people see that, they're like, oh, I want the abs, but I don't want the lifestyle required to get the abs.
Yeah, and that's where I sit at. I'm like,
that's okay. No, I can't be arsed. I cannot.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I want the Snickers ice cream bar, I'm going to eat it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Snickers.
Exactly.
That's my latest fixation. Sorry. Just had to talk with my coach about that.
I'm here for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, help me, my intrusive thoughts.
So speaking of expectations, our actions, expectations, also the optimal and ideal debate. Like, there is so
I'm
much
so
out
tired
there.
of
And
that.
yeah,
I'm so tired about
and
that. Like,
unfortunately, the information or whatever the algorithm is suited for any given person, well, this is optimal. I need to do this. I need to do all of these things, or even the messaging like this. What is it like? Even with workouts or training, like just
do
tweak
it this
this, do
way,
it.
and then you'll get the body of your dreams. Do it this way, and you'll get the abs. And I can't stand it because we all three of us know, and I will gladly speak for all of us on this. That it depends. It depends, and context matters. Like, we're not all the same. We're not robots. Optimal and ideal. It depends on the client.
So
Period.
your thoughts on that, and how, how do we navigate that messaging? How can we address that with our clients, and just, our clients listening to this podcast? What can they take away from you about that?
Yeah, whenever I see optimal now, I've started saying in my head, as the kids say, like, be so for real. Like, like let's look at your
I love
life.
that.
Okay, so first of all, the whole idea of optimization, who is generating the vast majority of material about optimization? It is white dudes who
The
have
biohackers.
money
Thank
to do
you.
stuff
Yes.
to eliminate all of a vast amount of labor from their lives. They are not scrubbing their own toilets. They are not doing their own household labor. They are not wiping snotty noses and poopy butts. They are not
Puke.
caring for aging. Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
like all of this stuff. There's a huge portion of the world that they are not dealing with. So they can create fantasies about optimization and engage in that magical thinking. In their own lives, they're not really living it anyway, but they can create these fantasies that they put out into the world. And the same is true of a lot of researchers who are maybe like a little bit younger and kind of head down in the research and don't actually road test a lot of this stuff with real people. So like, I think that's sort of a really important piece. We want to look at who's generating this stuff. And so that being said, and then we can sit down with our clients and say, let's look at your real life, all of the demands of your life, the obvious ones and the less obvious ones. Like, we know, for example, that women still do the vast majority of housework, but also the mental load of being CEO of the household, right? Remembering the dentist appointments. Oh, someone has a birthday. The dog needs to go to the vet. Like, all of this stuff, right? So our clients are dealing with a lot in their lives. Optimization ideal is a fantasy land. Like, we know that, like, something like, I don't know, a huge proportion of the North American population gets no leisure time exercise at all. So, like, the baseline that we're working with is so low that talking about optimization, like, is just a ridiculous conversation. So, like, and I think it also, it just creates anxiety for clients, because now you hear, like, what's the one I saw recently? You can't put bananas in protein shakes now. Like, honestly, what the actual fuck? Like, how did we get so unhinged as a culture where we're having this conversation?
They're like,
how did
Miss
we
Ma'am,
go from
she's slamming fries every single day for 3 meals. Can you just let her have the banana and the blueberries? Pretty please.
Seriously, like, how did we go from a species that will literally eat almost anything and survive in almost every environment to this weird little, like, purebred Pomeranian that's like, oh no, I can't put banana in my smoothie. God damn.
I got them with Pomeranians, so I was like, oh. Yeah.
Nervous, twitchy little dogs. Anyway, so I think it's a huge relief for clients for us to say, literally, you don't have to worry about any of this. Like, that is so irrelevant to your life. Or the whole, like, you shouldn't consume caffeine within a certain time of waking up. Like, girl, no, I'm like hitting that espresso
First thing,
as soon as my eyes are open.
Make it 3 shots. No, I am not slamming 8 ounces or 16 ounces of water first. I'm sorry, coffee first, magic bean water first.
I'll be honest, I do that, but not for the reasons that are cited. I do slam a bottle of water right when I get up, because when in my old days I was drinking a lot, I would get up in the morning, and I said, at the least you can do is drink a bottle of water. So I established a habit under those.
But again, full circle moment. That was ideal for you. It doesn't. It does. I don't necessarily have to do that, so it's cool. Give me the magic bean water. It just that's why we always say it depends. What's ideal and optimal for you is Hey, can we get more veggies on your plate? Is that going to be most ideal for you in this moment? Cool. Yes. Okay. Let's
Or
rock and roll
just,
with it.
it's really just learning to work within the parameters of your life. Like, and for me, like I try to just stress that a lot with my clients. It's like we're trying to meet you where you're
Right.
at. You don't have to do things the way that we do them. Heck, like I've been at this for 5 years. Carmi's been at this for 6 years. Of course, you've been at it for a lot
30.
longer. Yeah, but we didn't get where we are right now, just by doing all things at once. It took us time, like you discussed, just one little thing at a time. And, our goals are changing. My goals are changing. My seasons of life, for all of us, our seasons of life change. They evolve. There's ebbs and flows. And, and that message, again, it's not fancy and it doesn't sound, like the quick fixes or the things that we're seeing that people want, but it's this is the way. That's what I
Mhm.
say. This is the way, right? Yeah. So ideal and optimal. That's something that I find that I'm having that conversation with my clients a lot. Just recently with one, she's like, I just can't get to the gym. Like, okay, let's take a step back. Then don't go to the gym.
Yes.
Don't go to the gym. She's like,
Because
oh
that's
my
it's
god.
creating more fear and stress around her
Yeah.
whole
That's
journey.
it.
Like if it's just not manageable in this moment, okay, what
Not
can
even
we do
manageable.
instead?
She just doesn't want to do it. She
Yeah.
has,
Oh, okay.
and I'm like, cool, let's find some other stuff that you can do, what you enjoy. And she's like, okay, oh my gosh, like such a stress reliever. I'm like, yeah, girl, you don't have to.
But I think
There's
it comes with you as a coach being able to again manage your expectations and understand like what is it that you want? Is it that super toned muscular lean aesthetic that you want? No? Okay, then you don't need to go to the gym. Let's go do something else that just builds some type of strength and gets you moving and active.
yeah, yeah. And again, everyone's different, right? And so as a coach, and your book, Krista, I'm it's a long title, and I'm trying to let's and it's all okay. So applied nutrition, coaching, and counseling theory to practice. I have ordered that book. It is going to be it's a textbook. Let's just be real.
Yes, it is a textbook.
I cannot wait to dig in. I know when Andrew first got the pre-release, I'm like, Andrew, I want to read it. He's like, I know, but I have to get through it, and you'll have to wait. And then I couldn't get it in Canada for a
For a
while
while, yeah.
there. So I'm waiting for it. So yeah, like how did you get to I mean, I kind of can it's probably a rhetorical question, but I would love to hear how you came to this point where you're like, I'm gonna write this book now and just the changes that you've seen and how all of that has come together for you. And from what I've read and seen, I can't wait to dive in. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, yeah, it is a hefty book. I mean, here's
Oh,
here's
she's
what the
gonna bring it
print.
out.
Yes.
Yeah, like let's you can like look at that.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
That's a
Yeah.
big
It's
boy,
it's a
right?
textbook.
For shits of a real
Oh, I just got
textbook.
back to college.
You know, you
I'm
need
like,
It's
ooh,
one of those ones you put in
chills.
your backpack and you like are sad about it as you're walking across
You're like, do we
campus.
have lockers? Can I just leave it in the locker?
don't say that, Carmi. We're gonna read it.
No, it's totally true. It's totally true. And so I guess like for me, the genesis of this book was like obviously many, many years ago. And like as soon as you start coaching, like pretty much on day one or like your first week, you start realizing it's not about the food. Like the things that people are talking about is their lives, their feelings, their thoughts, their behaviors, their families, whatever. Like it's their life. And
Yeah.
so pretty early on, I realized like I need to have tools to get better at this. And luckily, when I was still at York University at the time, they have this amazing psychology clinic that does professional education. So they were doing like professional training for psychologists, and like some of the real legends were there. And so I was taking their professional training and just finding it wildly useful. They actually had one on like emotion focused therapy for eating disorders, and it just like blew my mind. And so I was like, oh, like this is the key, because it felt like it just unlocked everything. So from that point forward, I just became rabid about like seeking out all kinds of counseling training.
Yeah.
My favorite counseling training was actually community college, because the instructors there were like working in the field. Like they would come
Yeah.
right from their shift at the homeless shelter or the addictions counseling center of the local hospital. And they had the best stories about like what was really happening. It was not abstract psychotherapy. And
It's
just
theoretical.
yeah, it was, I mean, amazing stories. And And so but I found that in coaching, there was this real gap. So what I was learning in counseling training and what coaches were doing and talking about, there was no connection. And I was like, do you guys know these folks over here in counseling and psychotherapy, social work, are doing some really useful things, and they really know how to work with people, especially people that are in distress, struggling, overwhelmed, not at their best, whatever. Um, and so for the longest time, I had this idea of writing this book called Steal This Coaching, which was basically what can we steal from counseling and psychotherapy and social work to bring into coaching in a way that is within our scope of practice. We're not
Right.
doing therapy. And it's very, applied and useful and relevant to the discipline. So I've been I actually sort of had half a finished draft of this book. And then the publisher approached me and they were like, hey, we're looking for a book sort of around this topic. And I was like, I got you
Bingo.
covered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
It was
like,
one of those magical, I don't believe literally in manifestation and destiny, all that kind of stuff, but it was almost like the hand of the universe was like, oh, right?
yeah,
It's
like, here you
reached out. I was like,
go.
okay, I'm just going to follow the vibes here. Yeah. So that was how that book was born.
Yeah.
And now it's out in the world. And the general idea is again, we can steal these questions,
Yeah.
these methods, these tools, these ways of looking at the world from these other fields, bring them into coaching and use them to make ourselves more effective and to help our clients get better results.
Yeah, I love that. And also the fact that you use two things here. The fact that you use actual stories. I love reading, let's call it books, but anything that actually brings in real life stories and experiences, and then we're able to take the theory and attach it to that and really see how it applies and works. So love that. It's sorry, I just lost my train of thought outside of that. I was gonna say, oh, with coaches. Okay. Now I know this because it's something that I had struggled with, but still think about a lot is that line between coaching and therapy. And I think, or I believe, that many coaches are afraid to cross that line and don't understand and are able to kind of decide or figure out where is that. And I know for me it's when I work with Jed, it's well, we don't really address the past, we just focus on the present and the future. Yes, we want to be aware of what happened and how that maybe contributes to the choices and decisions, and cool, but what can we do today and what can we do moving forward? So what advice can you give us coaches as far as that, as far as crossing that line is concerned?
Yeah, I think your explanation of it is perfect, actually.
Okay.
So we can be aware of our clients' histories and their stories and how to, what was the narrative that brought them here? The same as if you were an exercise coach, you're aware of someone's injury history.
Mhm.
Did they have shoulder surgery? Did they have
Yep.
a skiing accident? It's the same thing. Or did they go through COVID and have long COVID now? So we can be aware of our clients' stories and what brought them here today. But I think a common assumption about therapy is that it's always about digging into the past, digging into your childhood. And a lot of schools of therapy are not about that. For example, I think about this one instructor that I worked with. Now, he worked in the addictions center, especially the overnight center at a hospital, like I said. And so the people that are brought in there, you might have 10 minutes with them and
Mm,
never see them again, right? So you don't have time to unpack their childhood
right.
stuff. You're
Yeah.
focused very much on the here and now and the near future. So a lot of domains of psychotherapy are very focused on that. Okay, what's going on right now? And one of the questions I like to ask my clients is, how do you think that affects the work that we're doing here right now? So they may tell
Mm,
me some gnarly story and I'll be like, okay, cool. How is that alive? Or how is that informing our work right now? It's not my job to deal with whatever happened to you, but if it's coming up in our work here together, we can have a conversation about how it's affecting you and what to do about it. So I've had, of course, tons and tons of clients who have had abuse histories, trauma histories, terrible things have happened to them. And we can bring them out a little bit and say, okay, well, how do you think that's shaping what's going on for you right now? Oh, I eat to feel safe, or sometimes I check out
mm,
of my body because it's everything's overwhelming. Okay, cool. Let's focus on these very concrete, granular behaviors. On Tuesday, this happened. Cool. Let's workshop a little plan for that specific scenario. So we can make it much more specific, much more concrete, much more here and now, much more near future. Okay, you had a stressful week last week. You're going to have a stressful week this week. Let's work through, let's plan, let's create a plan for how you're going to deal with that. using this kind of therapy-informed or trauma-informed approach, but really still focusing on the here and now. And I think one other piece that's very relevant to mention on this podcast is the role of deeper kinds of traumas, generational traumas, growing up, like as a racialized woman in a culture that doesn't love you, right? That doesn't reward you for being you and is actively hostile to you at times. That informs your food choices and your eating choices and just the baseline level of stress that you walk around with. So that is also a very therapeutic understanding. So even if we never like deeply address it, it's an awareness that we can bring into the work that we do together.
Yeah, I know for me, being South Asian, and I'm sure Krista, like, I feel like you're very versed on our culture here, just based on geography and stuff. But yeah, being born a female in our culture, and then how that shaped us, and then I'm a second daughter, so that's another
Oh,
layer.
yeah.
Yeah, right? So that's another level to all of this, and then there's things like, I talk about this, and Carmi and I talk about this openly, about skin color and color hierarchies
Yeah.
in all culture well, not all, but many cultures, and how that shapes someone. And so there is so much going on. And how does one as a coach start even begin to understand? Because I know for me, there's a lot of coaches that have reached out and said, "Hey, Dal, like, do you mind sharing your knowledge as far as like the South Asian community is concerned, and how I can better help my clients, guide my clients?" I'm like, "Yeah, for sure. Here, like, let's have a chat, right?" So what would be your advice for coaches? What could they do to better understand just different cultures and perspectives and just the world around them, and not necessarily, and I know you've spoken about this on Andrew's podcast, not necessarily coming from just fitness, nutrition, and that's all we know, and we live in this bubble, and just their world.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge question. And in the book,
Yeah.
I talk a lot about cultural competence, cultural safety, and cultural humility. And the concept of cultural humility is basically recognizing, and this is harder for some cultures than others, that you don't know everything and that your way of doing things is not the best way necessarily. It may work for you, but it's not necessarily the best of all time. And that's really difficult. The analogy I like to use about this is, especially for like, okay, if you've grown up white and middle class in North America and you've been told that you're like top of the food pyramid basically the whole time, and then you discover that you're not, it's like a rude awakening. But the analogy I think of is, imagine that you're like a little kid and you're having a birthday party and your mom is like, okay, you need to invite that other little kid that you don't like, but we're friends, like me, the two moms are friends. And so you have to invite this kid down the street that you don't like. And then you and your like 6 or 7-year-old brain decide to be magnanimous. And you're like, fine, this other kid can come to my birthday party, right?
Fine.
That's how
Yeah.
we tend to think of inclusion. Like, fine, you can come to my birthday party, but I'm still the birthday boy or girl. Now, real inclusion looks like recognizing that other kid may have a birthday party where they're the center of attention and you may not even be invited. And so it's really like decentering ourselves off the pedestal of like, we know everything, like our way of doing things is the best. Like, we're the birthday boy or girl at all times. Like, sometimes you're not the birthday boy or girl, and sometimes you're not even at the party.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
that's a really hard thing for people to get their head around. Even stuff like, the concept of a global majority is wild to people that have never contemplated this. So I fully acknowledge that it's a hard pill to swallow, of cultural safety, competence, and humility. You got to get over yourself, like in a really big way. And that requires unpacking a lot of the stuff that you might have been told about yourself. So pause to acknowledge like the difficulty of that. And it's not on other people necessarily to educate you. So I can't just go find like, the one marginalized person and be like, tell me everything for free. Let's emphasize. Give me everything. Can I just pick your brain
That's
for
not enough,
free?
though. That's not enough. Just like,
No.
because that's like one shared experience of one person.
Just,
like,
yeah,
there's
a very
different
snippet.
experiences for different people.
That's exactly right. So now the burden is on me to do that education in the same way as I would learn about anything else, in the same way that I'd learn about gardening, in the same way I'd learn about cars, to go and learn the history. Like, writing this book, digging into a lot of the history of the way that nutrition guidelines were developed. Like, a lot of the science about how we know about nutrition requirements was done in the 1940s by white researchers on indigenous reserves,
Mm.
where they intentionally malnourished and starved
Ah,
indigenous children in residential schools or on
ah,
reserves. Like,
so
it's
sad.
absolutely fucked.
Yeah,
And so as you dig into the history, there's like a lot of like personal, like, oh my God, this is so terrible. Like, you have to kind of
disgusting.
do your
Yeah.
own, processing and stuff. But the education will take a lifetime to do. The
Uh-huh.
starting point, though, is just to go, huh, maybe I don't know everything.
Curiosity.
Be open.
Yeah,
Curiosity,
Yeah,
and to
be
kind of
yeah.
open.
pull a thread. Like,
Mm,
why is this a thing? Why don't I know about this? Like, that's
mm,
weird that I don't know about this. Huh. Let me pull that thread and ask a question, go down a little bit of a rabbit hole and just be
I
curious.
love that.
The learning material is out there if you look for it, increasingly more and more and more. But it requires that initial spark of curiosity going, maybe I'm not the birthday boy or girl today.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
maybe I
Yeah.
need to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, one of my clients is from the South, and I'm like I mean, and Jeb talks about it too, I'm like, "Wow," like, even I don't know, and it's wild to me, and so, you think, "Oh, okay, just because I'm brown and I have this different perspective and I've grown up in this Western world, I still don't we don't know anything." That's it,
I mean, that
period.
happens in my own home because I'm
Right?
married to an African American man. So I have had to learn a lot about being in an interracial relationship, raising mixed children, also the African
Yeah.
American culture, his experiences, but also like hearing him tell me like people will almost invalidate some of his experiences and tell him he's wrong, and he's like, no,
Mm.
like that's still my truth, like whether or not you want to believe it, that's still my truth. And then can speak to his brother where his truth is different. So it just takes you being open and being willing to learn and become educated about things.
Mhm.
For coaches and yeah, for us as coaches and just personally as well, because whatever we can do, to further our growth in with that type of knowledge is what we'll bring to our coaching practice and therefore help and guide our clients better. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, yeah, I love that. And I want to be respectful of your time here, Krista. This book, obviously, uh, I believe, and I know imposter syndrome just means that we need to learn a lot more. And so a lot of coaches are probably thinking about it, dealing with it, struggling with it. This is the book. Get this book. So
I'll
with
link it in the
that,
show notes.
Yes, you'll never
yeah,
have imposter syndrome ever again after you read this book.
done, done.
Wow,
that
that's an
that
absolute,
You'll never
Krista.
feel bad ever again.
ever completely negates the entire podcast.
There is actually an ideal and optimal, guys.
There it is.
That's facts.
There, there's one exception. This
The
this book.
book. There's always a magic unicorn at the end.
Yeah. So, final thoughts again. Like, what could like, what's one? I know it's such a loaded question, but one piece of advice that you could give our audience, coaches and clients, both just based on your experience, 30 years, 30+ years, personal, professional, all of it.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I'd want to leave people with is that ultimately all of this is just about being human. And
Ah,
so if you're a
yes.
coach and you have imposter syndrome or you worry about the details, your job is to be a human being who cares about other human beings and helps other human beings navigate the journey of being human, the human condition, the human things that happen to all of us, all of the feelings, all of the experiences, birth, death, life, falling in
Mm,
love, like all of this stuff. And so ultimately, you got to just keep returning to this humanness of it.
yeah.
So all of the details are just distractions. Ultimately, you're a human trying to either have a human experience or help others have a human experience. And so nutrition, health, fitness, all of this ultimately should just be in the service of what do you want to do as a human being? How do you want to live your life? What's the hopeful future that you see for yourself? What's the path that you want to be on? And then how can we just help facilitate that? That's ultimately all we're doing here. So don't get lost in the sauce. Just continue to come back to these deeper questions of like just being a human. And it can happen in such basic ways, like just having a moment of kindness with your client, taking an extra
Yeah.
moment to just understand them or to have a laugh with them about some silly stuff that happened. Like that is the work. The work is not to be a macro counter. That's not the job you're here to
Yes.
do, right? You're here to help and serve and support others on their journey if you're a coach. So take it down to those brass tacks and you'll be okay.
Mic drop. Seriously,
Right,
that's
yeah.
just so like in my field.
I think that was the
love
best
that.
response we've ever had. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, and I think the key word for me there, and I think should be for many people, is be of service.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So love that. Love this entire podcast. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Go ahead, Carmi. You take this since you always do.
All right, Krista. So where can our listeners and followers find you?
Yeah, I'm sure you'll put this in the show notes, but
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, the usual channels, my
Okay.
website, KristaScott-Dixon.com. I also have a little side project called the 1% Better Academy. So if you Google
Oh,
1%
yeah.
betteracademy.com, you will find that. So we run little coaching groups and little courses for certain kinds of things. Yeah,
Okay.
that's where you find me. It's not hard. Krista Scott-Dixon is not that common of a name, so it shouldn't be hard to find me.
AKA KSD, right?
KSD, Coach KSD,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
There you go. All
All
right.
right. Well, yeah, with that, again, we appreciate your time. Thank you. We've learned a lot. I'm sure our audience is going to benefit, coaches and clients alike. And we'll see everyone next time. So
Bye-bye.
bye.
Thanks, everyone.